feed those birds down to Acapulco Bay. It's so perfect for a flying honeymoon, they say. Come fly with me, let's fly, we'll fly. Pack up, let's fly away. And don't tell your mama.
Wow, that was such a wonderful song from Mr. Nash. And today we are sitting with Mr. Nash. I will let him greet before I say anything or read his bio.
Good morning, and I am very happy to be on the show this morning. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, and can you tell me how are you feeling today to be joining us on studio?
I actually feel a lot of excitement, a lot of joy, and happiness. I'm really glad that I was invited to be on the show this morning, so I definitely woke up with a big smile on my face, and I'm happy to be here with you.
Yeah, and we are also happy to have you. Can you just tell us about yourself first? Who is Mr. Nash?
Who is Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mr. Nash, obviously it's stuck because for a number of years lots of kids have been calling me Mr. Nash. But I am Harrison Dax Nash, originally from the UK. My hometown or home city is Plymouth there. And basically in 2007 I came here to volunteer. In PE or GQ, as we say now, and I was and I was volunteering first of all in schools, and then I became linked to the youth centre where I am based now, which is Maranatha Care Child and Youth Care Centre, where we have children in residential care. From the ages of 2, and we carry them right through until their 20s in that capacity. And I volunteered with that youth centre, and I really felt called to the work there. And that was when I was very young, 18 years old. So, I hadn't gone to university and all of those things yet, but I knew from that volunteer experience I had a clear passion to work with children. So you skip forward, and I studied social work and set about a journey where I could actually relocate here and make this my full-time job. So today I am a program manager at Maranatha, and we're caring for 34 children and young people in need of care and protection.
Yeah, and when I was reading your bio, you also decided to take a gap year. I think you were doing marketing, right?
Yes.
And then you decided to take a gap year and decide to volunteer here in South Africa. And what led you to that?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yes.
I was actually back then. I was quite set on going in marketing direction. My father runs international entertainment marketing company, and from a young age I was involved with him, actually with a lot of high profile concerts that we used to work on. And it seemed like a natural progression for me to stay in marketing, but I was going to embark on that even from a university standpoint. But I just had this desire that I needed to go and volunteer and do something and experience something different.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can be set and focused on a certain path without having experienced anything else. So I took the gap year opportunity, came for, I worked there with marketing, and then I came out here for 4 months, having never actually worked with children before. So
wow, I thought it's always been,
no.
Maybe you had always loved
yes, you would think so, because
yes.
Even today I work with a lot of kids who want to be teachers, who want to be social workers, and they know that from quite a young age. And I hadn't registered with me, but when I came out as an 18-year-old, that time in 2007, I was first, even in the schools, a lot of the other volunteers were commenting on how good I was working with children. Oh, wow, the kids love you, so good at working with kids. And I quite quickly also found myself getting quite attached to some kids who I was working with. And I remember quite distinctly the day in which I had to leave after that 4-month experience. And it was a very emotional day. I'm not such an outwardly emotional person, but it was an emotional day because a lot of young people had spoken to me, shared stories with me, and they were used to seeing me on a daily basis, especially in the youth centre, the children's home. And I remember, though, what registered with me was one young boy who had spent almost every day with me, like 5 years old. He turned 6 that time. And he wasn't upset or crying when I was leaving because he didn't understand. Oh. And actually, that almost set me back more because I remember getting a plane home to the UK and thinking, this boy's thinking I'm going to be there tomorrow, but I'm not going to be there tomorrow. And for him, I thought that was going to be such a difficult thing to comprehend. He's going to be waiting for me to come. And something just told me that even though it's great for volunteers to come from overseas and contribute and be involved and do the gap year thing, I saw an opening to make a longer term difference over a longer period of time. And it just changed my whole trajectory of life. That one experience changed everything from my studies to my career path and the journey that I was actually meant to be on.
And I love the heart that you have for kids. I really love that. And like yesterday when I was looking at the videos and all of the things, I was like, wow, it's so amazing. It's like it's your own family. It's like it's your own.
I get so much joy out of my work.
Minute break and then I'm gonna be all right, because I was waiting for this. All right. Thank you so much. I'm just trying to look at my questions here. And one of the questions that I have, speaking about the Maranatha Siaka project, what is, can you firstly describe the name of Maranatha?
Yes, I can. So Maranatha itself is a biblical term from the old translation, the Hebrew language, and it's basically means the Lord is coming. So back in the day, people used to actually even use the term Maranatha as a greeting. You know, it sounds quite funny for people now, but to say good morning, Maranatha, you know,
yes,
the Lord is coming. So it even that has such meaning in it. And Siagatala is Kosa, we really care.
Yeah, we really care.
Yeah, we really care. So you add those two things together, because our foundation is that we are a Christian organization first and foremost, and we instill that with our children and our young people. And, you know, we spread the word and we spread joy, but we also care. And that's basically the meaning of the two together.
And you really care. And
Yes.
it's not about the words that you say, but we actually see the work that you have done. And what is what it caters for, and what's the aim?
So basically, we've got children who are referred to us because they are, as I like to use the word, survivors of abuse often. I don't like to use the word victim as much, because often we have to look on what's coming forward rather than what went before.
Yeah.
But we have many children who were survivors of abuse, children who were neglected. About a quarter of our children are orphaned. Many have lost at least one family member. And those children are identified sometimes by community members, can be teachers or other concerned parties, who refer them to a social worker who has to go to court and remove that child. Again, I don't like that word as such, but remove them from their home environment. And then they place them legally in our youth centre. So when the child is placed with us, we do actually become the parents as such. The centre becomes the parents of the child. So it becomes a home for them. First for a 2-year period, and the aim is to work towards what we call reunification, when a child can go back to family, can go back to the community. And that can be a case where you might have a child who's removed from a parent, but there's another family member, albeit an aunt or a grandmother or someone else linked to the child who is willing to foster care that child. So then the child will, within that period, visit that family, will work with them, social worker will work with them, and we'll see if they can actually be placed back in a family environment. So with some cases that happens, and that's one aim that we work for. But the other side of it is the longer term, because for some children and young people, they are referred to us without any visible support. Or even they might have some family, but the environment is never conducive for them to go back to. So that's where we've got our independent living program, which is your 16 and up children and young people who then even into being over 18 as young adults, we still support to help them to become self-sufficient. But the overarching aim is basically, of course, restoring dignity, but also, that's very important. I think dignity is a huge part of what we try and restore, but also helping that child to achieve their full potential, like their maximum potential, because sometimes the children have so many talents and strengths.
Exactly.
And if you are exposing them to opportunities, you'll discover those things. So we want to literally help our kids become the best version of themselves.
And I love how you exposing the children to their gifts and to what is in them, because other children, especially I would say it's something that your work is something that is needed in South Africa, and I'm sure in other countries as well. But it's something that is really needed, because there are children that some die in trauma, some die in abuse, some die, but you expose them now into greatness.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, because for me, I always want to, and the organisation at large, we want to break this stigma. Just because a child is in a children's home, the correct term is a child and youth care centre, but just because they are in that environment, it doesn't mean that they cannot achieve as much or even more than a child who's with family in the community. And, we have to break this thing of, that child's in care, they're not going to be successful, they're not going to have a good outcome in their life because they stay in a children's home. That should never be a factor. So we work closely with the schools where the children go to and the young people to make sure they have all the opportunities that they can. And, we work with a lot of local partners so that the children can go to cricket lessons. They can have dance classes.
Wow.
We've got a wonderful foundation called Unique Kids, and Unique Kids help the kids, boys and girls, to have dance classes twice a week, which is wonderful. Our boys are going to be in a show and dancing competitively in coming months. So, that's a fantastic thing. Spiritual dance classes that they have once a week. Singing lessons that we do with the children. And, of course, sports as well. We've got a lot of very talented sportsmen and women, and they're playing first team sports for their schools. So, and we've seen our young people go on to college, university and work opportunities, which is fantastic because it can help them to stand on their own 2 feet and be self-sufficient and contribute positively to society. You want to actually believe that a child in that environment can be a future leader who's going to inspire the next generation. And that's what I want to instill in our children and young people. They must reach for the stars and believe that anything is possible, and we must help them to achieve that.
And I love it because it always reflects me to the thing that your background doesn't matter. Your background doesn't determine who you are or who you can be.
Yeah.
So you removed that part of the background of a child.
Yes.
This child who's in trauma or whatever, but now a child believes that there is something in me. One day I'm gonna be a leader. One day I'm gonna be this, and then you expose them into those things. And I want to know how it impacted. How the Maranatha impacted the young kids and how it has impacted you as well.
Yeah, it's good questions and points there. I just wanted to say first on what you said there. When you look online and you look at what Maranatha has online and you look at me online, and even when you come to Maranatha, you see a lot of happy kids. Like, they are happy kids, they are full of life, they have their needs met, they are excited about things that are being given to them and opportunities that they have, and that's so important, because you don't want to see children who are crying and miserable and you know, portraying this idea of oh, we so in need, you know, because actually if children are well cared for and given the right love and support, then they can thrive and they can be so happy. And that's one thing that we always try and promote with our work. However, there is a lot that has to be worked on when children have gone through abuse and trauma.
Yes.
And you know, I'm a social worker myself. The organisation is managed and founded by a Doctor of Social Work, Dr. Basson, and we've got a social worker at the organisation too. And we all work hard collectively to ensure that the children can work through things therapeutically, so that they get counselling, they get all of those services that they need, psychological services, because you have to be able to work through those things so that you can move forward positively in your life. And in terms of the impact on our young people, I think maybe one time actually I can have one of our young people come and speak on your show.
Yes, I was actually thinking of that.
I'm sure that would be a fantastic thing. We have had a couple who have taken ownership over their life story and been willing to share those things, and that's quite inspirational. But we've had some wonderful achievements. You know, we had a youngster go on to well, actually quite a few who've gone on to study at university level.
Wow.
We've got one young girl who's doing her diploma level hospitality and catering currently here at Russell Road College, and she's done fantastically with that as well. And we're also proud of that we can expose our young people to vocational skills. So it's not just purely academic, but you know, those things like hospitality and catering that we can do. We've got one young person who's doing a carpentry in home construction course through Masifunde currently in Walmer, and these are our skills that's going to help them when they eventually go back to their communities and stand on their own 2 feet. So you know, you see a whole journey of a child actually growing and transitioning to being a successful young adult who others can look up to. And in Maranatha, what's wonderful is that the kids are able to see those older young people and use them as role models. So we've got that wonderful cycle that has created itself.
Wow. And how it has, I see now how it has impacted them and very much, and how it has impacted you.
How has it
as
impacted
well?
me? Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely, it's changed my whole life. I always say that the children are heroes.
Yeah,
You know, they resilient heroes for me. Recently, I was very fortunate and humbled and honoured. The Queen in England, in her Queen's honours,
Yes. You receive a medal.
A medal, yes, yeah. It was called a British Empire Medal, and that's for what they call meritorious service worthy of recognition by the Crown. So I had the British High Commissioner visit us here at Maranatha in February, and I went to Buckingham Palace in May, which was an incredible experience. But that again is not about me. I want to share that medal with the organisation, you know, with the whole team, with the kids, with the young people, because it's a collective thing. So I just hope things such as that, whilst it's a wonderful accolade and achievement, and of course, yes, it's something that I'm very proud of, I hope that such things can just raise more awareness of the work that we can do, and, you know, hopefully attract more support for us as well. Because the more people who can be aware of what we do, take our hands and invest in our kids and young people, the more we can see success stories become a reality.
Yeah, and also as well as you were featured in the BBC.
Yes, yeah, that's right. You've done your homework very well. You've really done your homework well. I was very fortunate. Actually, a few BBC interviews, but I was interviewed for BBC Spotlight. In the southwest UK. They had me on their news program for an interview, and that is actually available online as well on YouTube. And also BBC Radio Devon have interviewed me as well. And again, that's wonderful because now you've got your UK media outlets who are at
Yeah.
least giving some exposure to the work that we are doing, because we have a charity also in the UK where we try and raise funds to help this work. So yes, the BBC was also a very exciting moment for me.
Yes, and also I wanted to know about the outreach work locally that the children do.
Yes, well, outreach goes two ways. So locally, we try and encourage our children to reach out where possible and give back and show a spirit of generosity, because I don't want, or we don't want to have this idea that children in a centre just receive. You know,
Yes.
they must be able to give back and see where they can make a difference as well. So even this coming Sunday, we're taking our kids and young people to a beach cleanup at Something Good, which I think is going to be a wonderful cleanup for them to do, because things like coastal conservation, it matters, and kids need to know that they can take a bag and they can pick up the rubbish, and they are making a difference in their own way. So things like that we involve our children in for outreach work. Also, what's been quite fantastic is that we've managed to reach out through Maranatha to the rural community. There's a village called New Bethesda, 40 minutes past Craft Rennet, where we've got a family preservation program there, where we're also working with community members to help families and children in need in a rural area where there's less facilities and services available for them. So that's been another a growth area of the organization as well.
Wow, wow. And what are your future plans with Maranatha Care Child and Youth Care Center?
Future plans. That's that's a great question. Look, I don't just want to say much of the same, but we are continuing our mandate of what we're currently doing. I want to help some of our young people when it comes to getting them into jobs, workplaces, businesses who can take their hands and support them outside of what we can do with them, that they can actually get that exposure within workplace industries and things like that as well. So that's something that we want to work on. It's actually 20 years of Maranatha this year. Dr. Trudy Besson and husband, Mr. Albie Besson, founded the organisation in 2002. So this is actually going to be 20 years. So we will be having a celebration of note at one point in time. So we will, of course, keep you informed on that as well. But yeah, I'm very proud for what they have also achieved, and inspired by them as the leaders and founders of the organization. And we just hope that these things will lead to more awareness and more opportunities for our kids and young people. People can be listening and think, oh, I could actually offer this to those children. I could expose them to this. And for all there can be a future Olympian athlete, in a sport that they haven't even played yet.
Yes.
So it's still carrying on doing the work that we are doing now, but just trying to extend what we can expose and offer through other people taking our hands in the community.
Yes, as you were speaking as well, how can, if someone wants to contribute or someone wants to be part of it, or someone wants, or maybe there's a child that's want to be in the Maranatha Youth Care Center, how can...
Yeah, again, a lot of good points there, and thank you for allowing me to share those things.
Yeah.
People ask how they can get involved, how they can
Yes.
contribute. Of course, we take donations first and foremost. Currently, even our ladies with our stores there told me when we're almost running out of snacks for our children, and it sounds like such a basic thing, but those kind of biscuits and crackers and things that we give the kids, especially now in the school holiday, it's
Yeah.
it's important that we can have a stock of them, because kids are very energetic. They work up a lot of energy, so we actually doing a bit of a snack drive at the moment. And even recently with the load shedding, I tell you one thing, I need more rechargeable lights and things like that can help us in the houses with the kids, because sometimes when the lights are off and it's dark and we're having to scramble for lights, it can make things a little bit difficult, and those are kind of unforeseen expenses.
Yes.
Because we don't necessarily budget for load shedding, but then if people can help us with those things, that makes a big difference. We welcome volunteers, people who want to get involved. They can contact us even online. On Facebook, we've got Maranatha Care Youth Centre. I don't mind them even contacting myself, or if they get in touch with the radio station. But volunteers who might want to come and help, for example, with homework or sports, or just offer any services to the children. Because we've got child and youth care workers who work very hard living in with the children, and they looking after them 24/7. So if people can also come and volunteer their time and services, that also makes a big difference to us as well. And as I say, those are just some of the ways that they can get involved. But we running a big household,
Yeah.
basically. So you can just think of anything that would be needed in a household on a bigger scale is needed for us at Maranatha. So we welcome the involvement. Of course, we welcome people who can help with fundraising and monetary donations as well. It's most welcome, and they can get in touch with us about that too. But yeah, I just want to say, especially now that we're moving past the pandemic restrictions, it's a good time where we can start to welcome people back to the organisation. And our children also get so excited when visitors come.
Yes.
So we welcome volunteers and those who can help us too.
Yes, and especially I think these are the things that we need to invest on, especially like seeing how the young children die, seeing how the young children are misleaded. So we need to invest so that everyone can every child deserve a special home, every child deserve to be educated and get all those things, even no matter how bad is the background.
Absolutely, and also to allow them access to positive role models. If they can have positive younger role models as well, who can speak to them and come and talk to them and come and motivate them to stay on the right path, to avoid any negative influences that can come, that can take them down the wrong way, and just to actually give them that encouragement and motivation. It's so important that we can continue to do that.
And where is Maranatha located?
It's essentially it's behind the airport. It's the actual address is Main Road, South Dean, but it's easier to describe it as being in Forest Hill. I always say you get to the Caltex garage on Forest Hill Drive, and then you turn left and you literally go straight for 4 kilometers up the road. You go past all the shops on your right, you go past the K9 unit that's there, you just drive straight. We're up by the Air Force Museum, and you'll see at the very end of the road, that's got quite a lot of bush along the side of it, but once you get there to the end of the road, you see the sign for Maranatha. And yeah, people are welcome to come there to drop off donations. That can be any time as well. Yes, we operate office hours, but we 24/7 because we are children's home. So there's always somebody who can open up or collect a donation at any time. I'm often there myself as well. So yes, people can come and pay us a visit, and we would appreciate their support.
Yeah. And can you tell me, I would say the importance of giving, as you are the person who is giving, the way you're giving your time, your money, and your energy, and all of those things, to those kids, and you are so much helping them, Can you just tell me about the importance of giving?
Look, I think it's about you're giving selflessly, right? It's not something that is forced. It's almost a natural thing. It's not a job for me. It's a calling. I always go to Romans 8:28 when it says called according to purpose, and I truly believe that. So whilst it is wonderful to get a positive reaction from what you might do or give to others, it actually is just very natural for me, and actually my joy that I see is when you actually see a young person who flourishes, who actually can flourish and be a success story from what you are investing in their lives. That this investment that we've done has returned because we've been able to see the change in the young person. And I know sometimes when I speak, it all sounds very positive. Yes, it's not always going to be a success story, right? You get those young people who, sadly, they might not do as well as what you had hoped.
Yeah.
But I often refer to the thing of you're planting a seed. And you might not see it now, but you might see it long into the future. You might not even see it yourself, but you hope what you're investing, the foundation in these young people, will one day come to fruition. So that's one thing that I always think in the work that we're doing.
Wow. And how it has been so far, being in the Maranatha and helping those kids and the way you enjoy spending time with them. How has it been so far?
I've got highlights and memories and moments for a lifetime. I think you've looked at some videos, as you said, and some pictures and some memories, and we've had a lot of brilliant moments that I've shared with these kids. That I've shared with them, and I'll never change any of it. It's sometimes so nice to even look back on those things, and even with the kids now and the young people and the older ones, we take a look at all of these memories. Places we went to, things that we did. Oh, Mr. Nash, do you remember when that happened? Oh, let's look at that video. And it's so fulfilling to be able to see that we've been able to share these amazing moments. It's actually pure human interaction, joy, happiness, and sometimes it takes a lot of energy, and people think I'm crazy. And Mr. Nash is a bit nuts. But you just, if you love what you do, it will radiate through you, and it will radiate through everyone. And with kids, that's so important, because if I've got that angry face on, you'll be amazed at how quickly a child will say, "What's wrong? What's wrong, Mr. Nash?"
Yes.
"Oh, Mr. Nash, why are you angry?" They'll say it very quickly, and they pick up on that thing. But at the same time, optimism is also contagious. So if we can be optimistic, and spread happiness, you will see that radiate in those around you. And I feel that's so important when it comes to work with children.
And as well as I'll touch on that, speaking about happiness. So are you always, because I always see you smiling, I always see you singing, I always see you happy. There's never been a moment where I see you like, you're serious.
Do you know, I reserve it for those moments where the children know. They know. Rarely will I have to raise my voice to a level, but when I raise my voice to a level, then they know I mean business, right? Because it's not something that's done very often at all. Because I just believe that if you are happy with what you do and you have balance as well, it's also very important. I have some wonderful friends around me, a wonderful relationship with my family, even though they are overseas. I speak regularly with them, and you've got to have that support around you as well, because whilst the work is very full on, and it's sometimes weekends and it's sometimes late evenings and everything like that, you've got to make time for other things, have friends around you who you can turn to support you, a close family contact as well, and also time for God, because to make time for the church and for your own spiritual growth.
Yeah.
It's very important, because I tell you one thing, I feel like I learn every day. Like I learn every day. You never stop learning, and you can learn from so much, even from a small child. Sometimes you can learn so much from them. And I just think that's also such an important thing. We must have an open mind always, and we must just make sure that we have a balanced life. And yes, I am often happy, but I wouldn't change that for the world.
And when you're speaking about having people around you and having time for God and all of that, because I'm just reflecting on as well on Jesus. Jesus had disciples, and Jesus was praying. So if for his own wellness and goodness and happiness, or however,
Yes.
but there were people around him, and that is an example to us as well, that we should actually really surround ourselves with Christians or whatever.
Absolutely. No, but that's 100%. I believe that. Some of my best friends, we will share prayers, we will share scripture, we will encourage each other in that way, and that's so important, and it's integrated into work as well. We do devotions every day of our children and young people, and I will pray for them. I genuinely will also pray for them, if they need that sometimes. In the evening, I'll always remember this long time ago. There was this one youngster, and it's funny how these things stick in your mind, but I used to pray for the kid in the evening before I would leave. And I remember this one youngster, he was like, at that time, too cool for school. We used to think he was going to be a gangster, and all of these things that he had in his mind. And so he didn't seem like he was the too engaged. Like, the other kids would be like, oh, I'll give a hug, and
Yes.
oh, and amen, and sweet and everything.
Yeah.
And he was like too cool. So I thought, oh, okay, he's it's going to take a while with that one. And then one day, but then I used to notice that he would sometimes be crying in the room, and he would be away from all the other children. And I remember I said, I'm always here if he needs to talk. And I just remember one day where he literally came and got me in the outside or wherever I was, and he said, can you please come and pray for me? And I was like, that was so powerful. And it was years ago, and I've been in touch with him here and there since then, and I believe he's doing quite well. But it just was such a powerful moment when I was like, oh, even that youngster who seemingly is hard to reach, who could be labeled as the naughty one or the the difficult one, if you expose them to the gospel and to prayer and to those things, it can actually strike a chord with them and can change their life. So I'll always remember those kind of moments, and I believe firmly in leading by example. We must practice what we preach.
Yeah.
We have to be role models to our children. So if they see me shouting and screaming and doing these things, that's not how I want to be guiding them to be, When we're talking about, I can't talk about conflict management and then be screaming and shouting at everyone under the sun. I've got to be able to radiate that sense of calm diplomacy when it comes to how we approach things, and always encourage them that their time with God is one of the most important aspects that's going to help us through our whole lives.
That's so true. That's so true. Before we close, anything that you would love to share?
Oh, I think we've spoken quite a lot. You had some very good questions right there. So it was actually nice food for thought for me as well to reflect on some of these things over the years. But I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on the show this morning and to talk about the work of Maranatha. And yes, I do hope people will take our hands and get involved and support us. But thank you so much for having me on your show.
Besides that, any last words from you?
One thing that I always say, right? Last word from me. One thing that I always say, this has been a motto in my life, is shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars. And for me, I remind myself of that all the time. I'm always shooting for the moon. And if we can help other people and the people we work with and support to do that too, then they can also achieve their dreams.
Wow. And I would love to say thank you so much for joining us today. It has truly been an amazing honor.
Thank you so much.
And may the Lord bless you. And thank you for listening as well. Stay blessed. Meet again on Monday and Tuesday. May God bless you.